The way that this is lifting up without sticking right now is
so beautiful.
Blowing my mind. I'm Jess Teich, Deputy Editor at Good Housekeeping, and today we are diving into all things you need to know about cast iron. I am joined by the Director of the Kitchen Appliance and Innovation Lab at Good Housekeeping and my good friend, Nicole Papantoniou. Hello, thank you for joining me today.
Of course, I'm so excited to talk about pans, one of my favorite topics.
I know it is. Okay, so out of all the pans that you've tested, what are your top performers?
This is our Lodge, and this is our best overall, and this is actually the one that I've been using at home for probably 10 years. It's a really good value. And then here we also have the Creuset, which is different from the Lodge because it's enameled. Enameled cast iron pans are easier in the sense that you don't have to season them. It's so beautiful, and it's a really good way to start using cast iron if you're a little bit worried about how to keep up with it.
Okay, should we break this down? Let's do it. Let's start with price. How do these compare?
This Lodge costs you around $30, and then this Creuset one is around $100. In general, there's a really wide span of how much cast iron pans cost, and they both work really well.
Okay, so you can still get really great performance at a low price point.
Absolutely. So typically you have your traditional cast iron pans, and they're usually uncoated. And what that means is that you need to build up that seasoning on your own. And the way to do that is you basically wash it first, make sure it's very, very dry. A lot of people recommend actually heating it on the stove to make sure that all the moisture is gone completely. So once it's cooled, what you're going to do is add some oil, a very, very thin layer, to the entire pan, inside and on the outside. Once you have that even coating, you're gonna wipe away as much as you can, and then you're gonna pop it in your oven at 350 for 20, 30 minutes, even an hour, and that's gonna seal it. And that is gonna help it prevent it from rusting. But over time, the more you use it and the more fat you use, it's actually gonna become non-stick on its own. So if you take care of it properly, this thing can last you for years. It's just because the more you cook in it, the more food oils it absorbs, and it actually helps season your food too.
Okay, how often should I be seasoning my pan, and how will I know when I should be seasoning it?
If you are washing it and you feels a little dry and it doesn't feel slick and smooth, then I would suggest re-seasoning it.
So tell me more about the testing that you do and what kind of foods you cook in cast iron.
Cornbread is one of the foods we test in cast irons. Earlier on today, we went ahead and prepped a cornbread in the Creuset and a gluten-free mixture in the Lodge. Let's take a look at how we test each pan and taste both.
You know how much I love cornbread, and I so appreciate the gluten-free shout. What are some features that you look for in the cornbread?
What we look for is how evenly does it brown. So we want it to be browned on the edges and in the center. And we also want to see how level it is, because that'll give away how evenly it cooked throughout the process. So you're gonna see a really big difference in the coloring. Right here, we have our regular one and our gluten-free one. So there's just different oils and seasonings.
This looks like the cornbread that most people are used to, and also the one that you most often use for testing. And then we just have my special cornbread here. Let's eat.
I'm just going to gently cut into the gluten-free one so you can try.
The way that this is lifting up without sticking right now is
so beautiful.
Blowing my mind.
And you can see, so it's really, really nicely removed. And this is a pan that we've been using in the lab. So it's not brand new. We've used it plenty of times. And I'm gonna dig into this one too. You can see like how much it didn't stick. Yeah, dig in. I'll try some of your gluten-free. Oh, look how crumbly. And so moist. Do you notice that?
Which is hard to do, especially with gluten-free. Okay, cast iron, go off.
And one of the nice things about cornbread is that it cooks it gently. Whereas in another type of pan, you might not get as much of the golden brown color that you see on these two.
So tell me about the first method that you use when it comes to cleaning cast iron.
I like to use just soap and water when something's not too greasy. It's just an easier way of cleaning. Just make sure you dry it and again, re-season it as needed. So the seasoning is gonna help prevent that rusting over time. And so you don't need to season coated pans.
And now, is there another method?
So I always use coarse salt on my cast iron pan.
Wait, salt?
Yeah.
Like plain old salt?
Plain old coarse salt, like a kosher salt.
Why salt?
So salt is actually an abrasive. So when you put in that layer, it's gonna absorb all of those oils like we were talking about, but it's also rough. So you can use it to basically scrape the bottom of the pan and it'll help just clean it that way. And make sure you never soak your cast iron pan and never put it in the dishwasher.
So what are some of the pros and cons of each pan?
We're comparing the Lodge and the Le Creuset cast iron pans. The Lodge is a really good price point. And then the other thing is like the shape and size is really nice and consistent. One of the cons could be having to season it all the time and make sure that it's perfectly dried so it doesn't rust.
How about the Le Creuset?
So the Le Creuset, I think one of the biggest perks is it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous pan. It's enameled, so that means that you don't have to worry about how you wash it or seasoning it because it's going to last long without a lot of extra effort. So one of the downsides about the Le Creuset is that it's expensive, but it can be considered an investment piece, so you'll really have it for a long time. You'll really get a ton of use out of it.
Nicole, thank you so much for bestowing all of your magical knowledge upon me today. I feel like I learned so much from you.
Thanks.
Let us know what you want us to test next.